What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is, Monday, December 28th. By the time you're listening to this is the Sunday recap show of Week 16. Oh, my goodness. We're mere days, nay, hours away from taking this miserable year and ejecting it into the sun for all of eternity and rolling over into 2021, which I know we all think will be better. It probably won't be that much better, but we can hope. I'm just kidding. I'm sure it'll be fantastic. What's sad about it is that it'll feature the end of the regular season, including Week 17. Plenty of drama to come to break down all the action for Week 16. And there was a ton of it, and it was a thrilling day of football that really set up a ton of drama for next week. Joining me, as they always do, on Sunday night, Ryan Wilson and John Breech. What's up, fellas?
You can't see unless you're watching the YouTube show. I'm doing my Big Ben Steelers won dance.
Yes. And
I can't wait to rub it in Breech's stupid face. As he noted in our little chat conversations during Sunday's play, me as a Steelers, what's the word I'm looking for? When the Steelers win after playing super crappy football, especially after losing to the Bengals, I am much worse than passive aggressive Breech when he loves Steelers losing.
Well, I'm going to do my Wilson's wrong dance because this is the same guy who predicted last week that they wouldn't win another game for the rest of the season. They would lose in the first round of the playoffs, and that Ben Roethlisberger would retire. And you know what? None of that's going to happen because when we go to sleep on December 31st, we're all going to wake up and start 2020 all over again in some sort of Groundhog Day hell.
Well, that would suck.
Yeah, I don't read that last part, man. He's angry.
Yeah. Yeah. See, the problem is that you like the difference with the dynamic here is that Breech is like, it's like you like beating up your little nephew, like he's a Bengals fan,
So here's what happened. So he's my little nephew. I just dunk on him literally every time we play basketball. I beat him 10-0. One day I was super hungover and he beat me.
Yes.
Like I couldn't even see straight. I was throwing up. It was the whole thing.
Like your first Super Bowl trip.
Not even a lie. And now I'm back on the wagon. I'm taking things seriously, and I just dunked all over him again. So he's not.
And the funny thing is, I didn't even know if Brinson was talking about you, Wilson, or me when he said your first Super Bowl trip.
That's the truth.
I forgot about that. You each have your incredible.
That first one's rough.
Cover the Super Bowl.
Speaking of the Super Bowl, there's a team that might be going to the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, and that team is the Green Bay Packers. They hung a 40-burger on the Tennessee Titans on Sunday night. The game went over, snuck over, thanks to A.J. Dillon, the much maligned second-round pick out of Boston College, who had 2 rushing touchdowns in a monster game for the Green Bay Packers. He actually ran 21 times for 124 yards. Aaron Jones, 10 carries, 94 yards. Jones didn't score, but Dillon did. Devontae Adams had an enormous game, 11 catches, 142 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I think it's the first person to ever do that at Lambeau Field in December. I believe HQ tweeted out the stat. And this was a throttling the entire time. The Packers did a great job defensively, bottling up Derrick Henry. The snow was a big factor. And, look, I don't know if we need to, like Prisco was texting, Packers look like they're legit. It's like, wow, Pete. Yeah, everyone knows it's been 16 weeks. Didn't need that idiotically simplified, validation.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. And I said this on HQ. Green Bay Packers, I am sorry. I thought you should have drafted a wide receiver. I thought you should have traded for Will Fuller. I was yelling and screaming about it. Go ahead. You can play the dunk music if you want.
Ho-ho! Up high, down hard.
But all you need literally is Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. You mentioned the 11 reception for 142. 7 other receivers were targeted for a total of 10 catches. Aaron Rodgers does not care. Now, you can have a lot of questions from Mike Vrabel and that defense about how they decided to single cover Devontae Adams for 60 minutes. And that's a fair question to ask. But A.J. Dillon came in there, and A.J. Dillon did to the Titans what Derrick Henry does to opponents every single week, and they had no answers. And Mike Vrabel's face in the fourth quarter when his fate was all but sealed sort of had the same face of the opposing coaches trying to tackle Derrick Henry. So Packers know what they're doing. Scott Pioli mentioned this on the postgame show. Matt Eberflus, what's your name? Matt LaFleur. I couldn't think of your name, Breech. So he comes from Mike Shanahan coaching tree. Mike Shanahan values running backs. So that sort of helps explain this A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams didn't play tonight, but his place on the depth chart. And again, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, and a defense is playing a lot better. Good luck to anyone trying to come to Green Bay and win football games.
Yeah, well, you guys are completely glossing over the fact the refs were out there trying to get like the Rodgers rate from State Farm by throwing every penalty flag in Green Bay's favor. We saw or missing guys just stepping out of bounds, but not calling them out of bounds.
To your point, do you know how many flags were called on the Packers tonight, Sunday night?
I actually don't know, but I'm going to say 1. 0?
0.
My God, 0. And the Titans get called for a phantom offside on a blocked field goal, and then tacked on 30 more yards to a run after the running back stepped out of bounds.
And that Aaron Jones stepped out of bounds to 30-something. He got down to the inside the 5, and that happened right after the half where the Titans came out, scored a touchdown, made it 14-19. They were right back in it. And 3 plays later, including that Aaron Jones run you're talking about.
Well, and I was going to say that, if the calls go the Titans' way, if the refs aren't just, obviously in the Packers' pocket, the final score is probably like 40-30, but the Packers still win. They were the better team. They were absolutely the better team. There is no argument here from your resident Nashville homer. Ryan Tannehill just looked lost. I think it was the cold weather.
I think it was more Derrick Henry not being involved early.
I was muted there. I was like yelling, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" over and over again. I was like, "Why won't he listen to me?" I saw what are you trying to do? You're like, if it hadn't been rigged, they would have only lost by double digits, not.
Oh, I am so sorry I didn't see your face. This is the first time in your life where you're yelling and screaming and no one can absolutely hear you. And it's like a present.
I'm gonna go back and watch that part of the YouTube video. We need to tell everyone.
Happening? I was like, "Oh, it's muted."
They're immune to my yells.
You must let me interrupt you. No, look, the Packers are awesome. The Titans' problem is that their defense stinks. And if, I think Chris Collinsworth mentioned this several times on the broadcast. It's patently obvious if you watch the Titans play. But when they're trailing by a lot of points and up against a really good offense, it's hard for them to come back. Now, we saw them do it against the Browns. Where Cleveland sort of downshifted. The Packers didn't do that. The Packers kept their foot on the gas. That's what you have to do against the Titans. And you just have to outscore them. And look, yes, they got some bad breaks for sure. The block punt, they got the block extra field goal, they got completely screwed on. Now Mike Vrabel, and both of those things though, I don't think is like the refs are in the Packers pockets. To me, it's a byproduct of look, the opening kickoff goes out of bounds and they have a delay trying to figure out where to place the ball because they can't see the 40 because of all the snow. Well, if that's the case, you're probably going to run into some hijinks when it comes to certain visuals out there. And that was the case with the offsides and the Aaron Jones stepping out of bounds.
No excuse in 2020. There's no excuse for missing those calls.
You got Al Riveron with his pina coladas, as Ryan likes to say, sitting in New York. He can talk to the ear of every ref. He sees what's happening. He's the eye in the sky.
Well,
Game. It's prime time.
I don't know that you can. I guess you could have picked up the flag for offsides.
I mean, the refs can converse about it, and then all of a sudden be like, "Oh, you know what? No flag. There was no penalty on the play."
Now they blew the out of bounds thing, and it just was a situation where the Titans didn't have time to look at it. It sort of looked like it live, but you don't want to throw a challenge flag and be wrong on that. So I understand that. But again, if you look at the replay, the official is literally 5 feet away from the play and is staring at Aaron Jones' feet.
I mean, maybe there needs to be something in where it's like, all right, if it's snowing, you're not allowed to
how about anytime? Al Riveron, wake up.
Yeah. I mean, I think if it's a clear
hit the big red button, hit the big red button.
College football does this. If it's a clear and obvious review situation, the ref all of a sudden comes flying in, waving his hands, blowing his whistle. He's like, whoa, stop. We got to look at this upstairs. I wouldn't mind that if we did that in the NFL. Why do we have to put the onus on these coaches who are already overwhelmed in the first place to deliver challenges at a rapid pace? We see even the good ones screw it up plenty of times. So Aaron Rodgers, now the MVP favorite at William Hill. He is minus 160. I wish that I'd listened to us several weeks ago and bet him when he was 5-1. We would be getting rich off that. We didn't do it. Mahomes plus 140, Josh Allen 12-1, Derrick Henry 40-1, and Russell Wilson 100-1. Remember when Russell Wilson was minus 125? I think Aaron Rodgers is winning the MVP.
Yeah. I mean, next week, who the Chiefs play next week, Breech?
Well, they already have the first round bye wrapped up, so I can't imagine they're going to go crazy and let Patrick Mahomes throw 50 passes to win MVP. They play the Chargers to answer your question, but they have nothing to play for.
The Bears play the Packers next week. The Bears have a lot to play for.
Bears have a lot to play for. So, I mean, it's
And the
Packers haven't clinched the 1 seed
Right.
either.
That's right. So they have something to play for too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's right. But
that was the worst thing to happen to the Bears with the Packers rolling. The Bears wanted, I think, the Packers to lose, and then right, is that right? No, I guess it didn't matter.
No, if the Bears win, I don't know.
After the Seahawks won, it didn't matter.
Right.
Because the Packers couldn't clinch the seed until week 17, so they need to win. And that's a huge, like you obviously want the bye, so the Packers are going to play everyone. All the Bears can hope for is that the Cardinals lose to,
and that's part of the MVP odds consideration. Not only is Mahomes, look, I think if you're listening to this and you are looking to bet on Rodgers to win the MVP, I think anything under minus 200 is a good bet.
What's Josh Allen's?
12-1.
I feel like he's probably a better value than Mahomes at this point because he's got Monday Night Football.
Oh, I would agree.
Get a huge game, and then obviously next week
you're wasting money if you bet on Josh Allen.
They play the Dolphins. Well, probably. I'm saying best value right now.
But it's not value if you bet $100 that you know you're going to lose.
Not if you think you're going to win.
Okay.
I don't think the Allen thing is that far fetched, but
it's 12-1.
All right, Ryan. If it's far fetched, will you get a Josh Allen tattoo if he wins MVP?
I can't hear you because I'm giving you the middle finger under the camera.
I'll say this. I think that the true odds for a Josh Allen MVP win should be something closer to 25-1. So I agree with Wilson in that sense. Like 12-1 is not enough value that you're getting back for Josh Allen to win it. Rodgers, though, I think should be like minus 250 right now. So anything minus 200 or better.
If Rodgers throws 2 touchdowns and no interceptions next week, Patrick Mahomes has to probably throw 7 touchdowns. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, I mean, they're both, as long as the Packers win and they get the 1 seed.
What if Josh Allen throws 4 touchdowns Monday and 4 touchdowns against the Dolphins on Sunday? Because he has the hardest schedule.
The Bills still won't be the 1 seed.
He literally has to throw 12 touchdowns in one game, and then
but he's not the 1 seed because he's in the same division as the Chiefs. He could still finish 13-3 with the same record as the Packers.
Same conference, but right. Yeah.
He has to throw like 5 touchdowns and 4 touchdowns in those 2 games, and Aaron Rodgers has to go 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
I think that Rodgers has to completely crap the bed, and the Seahawks have to steal the 1 seed for him to lose the MVP race, because we're at the point of the season where most of the voters have made up their mind.
It sounds like Al and Chris made up their mind on Sunday night before that game was even halfway over.
Al and Chris are perfectly encapsulate the AP voting demographic.
I didn't hear what they said. They were all in on Mahomes.
No,
they were all in on Aaron Rodgers like in the first quarter. This is not. This is before the 4 touchdown passes.
Oh, okay. They're like, Al. And look, like Pete Prisco. I don't know what Pete's going to do, but I text with Pete Prisco a lot, and I have a pretty good inclination of what he's going to do.
He's going Rodgers. That's a no-brainer. He's a Packers homer. He's picked the Packers to win the Super Bowl for 5 straight years. Of course he's picking Rodgers.
Right.
I haven't texted him. This is me knowing Pete so well. This is obviously what he's going to do.
You're not wrong. I mean, and here's the other thing too, is that I do think there's a large segment of the voters who all these guys have been covering the NFL for the entire duration of Aaron Rodgers' career. I mean, they have watched him play every single snap, and they know this is probably one of his last 3 years. I don't know.
If it's a tie, you sentimentally give your vote to Rodgers.
That's what I've been saying for like 5 weeks now, is that I think there could be a lot of people who say, all right, Patrick Mahomes is going to be in this every year for the next 20 years. This is probably a mental vote. It doesn't matter. It's a psychological vote.
But I mean, he's deserved it, is my point.
Right. But I mean, like, even if he has like he throws for like 250, 2 touchdowns and a pick, and isn't that great in week 17, but they win, I think he'll still get it.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad stat line, but yeah. I mean, I mean, we'll talk about it. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been blowing the doors off people.
Right. Exactly. And the Packers are rolling, and
the Titans
are just swinging around. And even if the argument is he doesn't have as much help as Mahomes, and even if that's like a spacious argument at best, in the sense that his offensive line's probably better, he doesn't
have as good a.
Oh no, the weapons are not as good, but the offensive line is probably better, and the run game is better, and he's got a very competent coaching staff he's dealing with. Now he doesn't have Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. I mean, you could argue that you would take Adams over Tyreek Hill.
Oh yeah, I would make that argument.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's a little bit closer than I think it looks on the surface, but I think that will benefit Rodgers as, and I think he'll be the MVP. So I would suggest if you can find it for anything better than minus 200, you go vote on it. The Packers look awesome. Titans have a little soul searching to do.
Here's the thing with the Titans. Are we done with the Titans or are we moving on?
I'll tell you what, why don't we talk about the Titans in the context of the AFC playoff race? Because the Titans had a chance if they won the game against the Packers to clinch the division, I believe, right?
Yes, they would have clinched AFC South.
That's correct. They would be in a spot where they could lose the AFC South, except the Colts decided to curl up like a little turtle and crap their pants in the second half against. And look, Breech and I talked about this. You know what? I'm not gonna sit here and let like set it up like this and let Ryan bash me. The Steelers won 28-24. They win the AFC North. The over hits. The Steelers win as a pick'em. Ben Roethlisberger finishes with, I believe, kind of a monster game. And Ryan, I'll be perfectly frank, I don't know where the F that came from. Where, like, Ben finished 34 of 49 for 342 and 3 touchdowns. I saw Jason Lockenfora and other people tweeting about it going into half. Like, is Ben coming out? Is Mason Rudolph coming out as the quarterback under center? Because this guy isn't accurate, can't throw downfield, and he just started throwing bombs. What happened? Where did this come from?
I don't know either. So Robert Arciero is the producer up here, and he's a huge Giants fan, but he said he bet on the Steelers today at -1.5.
A ton of people did. Loved him.
I said, what are you doing? You have a good feeling about this? And the next thing you know, they're down 24-7. And it's the same thing that you've seen for the last 3 weeks. Just short hopping passes, drop passes on the first drive, 3 and outs. And you're like, okay, this Breech was sort of joking, but I was like, this season's over and whatever. It was a fun run. And then, as you point out, they go into halftime. I don't know what happens there. I think part of the issue is Colts fans and media will tell you that they got hosed on a couple calls, and they did get hosed on a call just before half on a block in the back. And they were whinging about some PI calls in the second half that I don't think were terrible, but I actually don't recall them specifically, but they don't stick out to me. But I mean, Roethlisberger was dealing. Juju wasn't dropping balls. Deontay Johnson wasn't dropping balls. Eric Ebron wasn't dropping balls. James Conner didn't do a lot in the run game, but he's contributed in the pass game, which he hasn't been doing a lot of lately when he's been on the field. So yeah, it came together, and I don't know what that means, but like I joked to you and Breech earlier, I'm going to be a huge D-bag because I know in 2 weeks this whole thing's going to be over anyway because the Steelers are going to lose.
I don't know.
But I'll say this before you guys say something. If this game had played out like it was supposed to play, and if the Browns had done what they were supposed to do, over the last month, you would have been right, Brinson, as the Steelers be the worst team in the AFC North. But your boy Phillip Rivers and Adam Gase had different plans, apparently.
Yeah, I'm trying to watch this. There's a next-gen stats thing on how the Steelers flipped the switch. But, here it is.
Apparently they flipped the switch because Ben Roethlisberger gave some sort of halftime speech.
The worst halftime speech ever.
Apparently it was the best halftime speech ever, Wilson. Maybe the Steelers only respond to the worst things. Because they did respond here. Let's do look, you're up 24-7 on a team that has scored 17, 15, 17, and 19 in the past 4 weeks. This team has not even cracked 20 points in the past 4 weeks. There's no reason you should blow this lead. And like Brinson said, this just came absolutely out of nowhere. Roethlisberger threw for 244 yards in the second half after throwing for less than 100 yards in the first half. His deep ball that we were talking about on the touchdown pass, Deontay Johnson, I think.
Yeah,
that was 47 air yards. And then his touchdown to Juju Smith-Schuster was 35 air yards. He had 2 touchdown passes, 2 just passes, period. Forget the touchdown. They went over 35 yards in the air in one game when I'm not sure he had one of those in the past 6 weeks. So, I mean, it was mind-boggling.
All season. He finished. Yeah. According to Next Gen Stats, powered by AWS, in the second half, Roethlisberger 6 of 9 for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns on passes of 10 air yards or more down the field. He has not done that all season long. His deep ball has been completely non-existent, and it just
funny.
Yeah, I'd love to hear something funny.
Last night, when Breech and I did HQ before we did the podcast, I said my best bet for Sunday is the under on 35.5 for the longest completion by Ben Roethlisberger.
That was a great bet at halftime.
Yeah, it's been a great bet the last month. And I'll say one more thing about the Colts.
That was the over-under?
35.5. I mean, the under is screaming at you.
That's crazy.
But that's how much the odds makers had lost faith in Roethlisberger. That really puts it into perspective.
35.5?
Doesn't that sound like it might as well be 100
Well,
yards?
you're talking about longest completion, not
just completion. Like you could throw a little pop pass to James Conner. If he runs 36 yards, you lose.
yeah. But still,
yeah.
You
think, although in the odds makers defense, he only threw
Breech number's way too high for Roethlisberger.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
He only threw one pass over 35 in the game, or like that went for like the 47 air yards was only a 39-yard completion.
That means you win your bet.
Right.
Just quickly about the Colts.
I was gonna have one more AWS stat.
Oh, go ahead.
In the first half, when not under pressure, Roethlisberger 8 of 13 for 75 yards, which is just horrific. Like if you're doing that when you're not being pressured, it's a problem. In the second half, when not under pressure, 20 of 26 for 220 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I asked BMAC, Brian McFadden, this on Sunday. I was like, why did it take the Steelers 3.5 games to figure out that they can throw the ball down the field? He goes, I have no idea. Like I don't. I'm just glad they won, and that's how. But we've been seeing it starting with the Ravens game when the Ravens had no players, and then the football team game. And then the Bills game, and then the Bengals game. They just only threw 2-yard passes. I think part of it, and you saw some of it a little bit in the third quarter, Ben Roethlisberger has such little faith in this offensive line that he's going to throw the ball no matter what. He had a couple passes that he threw before the wide receivers came out of the break, and no one was near him. If he just waited a half a beat, the guy would have been open, and I think that's part of it. But look, man, get out of here. If you don't want to get hit, quit playing. I know you're old and your bones are brittle, but make a decision. And the other thing about the Colts, Jonathan Taylor was dragging the Steelers up and down the field in the first. They could not. I said to myself at least 3 times, this defense is playing so soft, it's embarrassing. And then they quit giving him the ball. Him and Naheem Hines was going off too. Yeah, they quit giving him the ball in the second half.
That was really bad by Frank Reich. And Frank Reich typically doesn't do that. Like usually they get a lead and it's like, all right, let's eat. And I was lamenting. I'd been thinking about using Jonathan Taylor in DFS. And was just panicking the whole first half because I'm like, oh my God, he's going to keep going nuts in the second half. He was averaging like 7 yards a carry through the first half. And it was like every time they gave him the ball, he was just ripping off big runs. And they decided to let Phillip Rivers throw way too much in the second half. He was 2 of 9 for 39 yards and an interception. That sounds like Big Ben's numbers on passes of 10 yards or more down the field. Colts came into this game. You beat the Steelers, and you have a 24-7 lead at half.
No. In the third quarter, they had 24-7 lead.
Sure. Well, yeah, right. But you beat the Steelers, and you just have to beat the Jaguars in Week 17.
Terrible loss for the Colts. This might be worse than the Week 1 loss to the Jaguars.
It's way worse than the Week 1 loss to the Jaguars because they had a huge lead, and you just have to close the game out. And now instead – you do not control your own playoff destiny. And
they're going to win 11 games, potentially miss the playoffs.
That's correct. If Miami, Tennessee,
and
Baltimore, and Cleveland and Indianapolis all win, Indianapolis will miss the playoffs. Now, there are a lot of outs for the Colts there. If the Titans lose to the Texans, which, not
a lot of outs.
Well, have you watched the Titans play the last 2 weeks?
The Titans can easily lose to the Texans.
Have you watched the Texans play the last 2 weeks?
Okay, thank you. I was going to say the Titans haven't been bad. Yeah.
Are you suggesting the Texans suck or what?
They just got smoked today. We'll talk about that in a second.
But I mean, they have to show. You'd rather be playing the Texans than the Jaguars.
Really?
If I had to bet on one team to lose out of the Colts and the Titans this week, like no choice, gun to my head, I would probably pick the Colts.
No, I'd take the Titans.
The Jaguars just had the doors blown off.
You'd rather bet on Gardner Minshew, Mike Glennon, Jake Luton against the Colts versus Deshaun Watson.
Colts, the Jacksonville's 1-0 against the Colts. They're undefeated against the Colts this season.
They're
0-14 against everyone else.
You're not even a Titans fan. You're not even a Titans fan.
He dunked on you though.
I can't hear him right now for some reason. Anyway. I think the Colts will win. The Jaguars are friggin' terrible.
Yeah, but the other team. So do we want to go through the other teams that have to win? So the Browns are playing the Steelers.
Yep.
And as Breech is
well, since we're on the Steelers right now too, what do you think? Breech and I were talking about this on the odds look at. What do you think Mike Tomlin will do with the starters in Week 17?
So right now, as it So if the Bills win, they're going to be the 3rd seed. So the Steelers will be the 3rd seed. The Bills win tonight on Monday night. They'll be the 2nd seed. So if that's the case, the Steelers may not care. They may just rest guys against the Browns. That said, the most Browns thing ever would be to lose this game to the Jets, that we'll talk about.
To lose to Mason Rudolph.
And then lose to Mason. That's right. I mean, that seems perfectly reasonable given how Browns sometimes implode.
Well, no. The Steelers can still, if the
Bills went out, the Steelers, it doesn't matter because the Bills beat them head to head.
That's right.
Right,
Okay.
but they're not going to know that going into the game. So Tomlin's going to have to make that decision before knowing what seed. They're not going to be locked.
The Bills play the Patriots.
Right. So, if the Bills win they're 12-3, but the Bills could lose to the Dolphins. The Dolphins have to win. So if the Steelers,
I'm sorry. I thought the Week 17 game was the Patriots. Week 17 is Monday. It's Week 16 is Monday night.
Tonight.
Right. So the Bills could absolutely. The Steelers will either be the 2 or the 3 seed. So they'll have something to play for.
So the question you have to ask yourself is: if you're Pittsburgh, do you want to risk it and sit people and play the Ravens, or beat the Browns and have to face the Browns again potentially?
I don't think you can worry about who you're going to play in the 7 or the 6 seed. I think you just have to, because like those things are totally interchangeable with Miami, Baltimore, Cleveland, and Indianapolis. I think you just sort of.
I think you rest people.
Well, that's now. So the argument I was having this. I was texting with some buddies earlier. And
how many texts do you send a day?
Do you want to count my text to my wife?
Before they started doing like unlimited text packages, did you ever hit your limit and they like cut you off?
100% did.
No, but no.
All right, go ahead.
Kidding me?
You're texting about texting.
We're probably like 1,000 a day. I don't know.
Oh my God. Go ahead.
I mean, just to my wife. So anyway, she texts a lot. So what the bleep was I saying?
You text your buddy about whether they should sit.
Oh, right. So all right, we all bet on the Colts to make the playoffs. We're obviously all Rivers guys. We want the Colts to make the playoffs, and sort of panicking setting in. And I was arguing that I don't think the Steelers will play their guys in Week 17. And the argument is that while the 2nd seed would be nice versus the 3rd seed, being able to get a week. So like, if you can essentially, if you know you're not going to fall below the 3rd seed, why not? Like, wouldn't you rather have a bye week? Like a quasi, like a half bye week where your guys get a week of rest and aren't beat up, versus having a, like an extra potential home game in an empty stadium.
Also, and we've talked about this weeks ago, Steelers got screwed out of their bye in Week 4 because of the Titans COVID situation. So they haven't had a bye in a while. Their quarterback is 400 years old.
And they got screwed out of the mini bye that you're supposed to get after the Thursday game because that Thanksgiving game against the Ravens got moved. So the Steelers essentially have not had a bye all season, which if I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm saying, in that case, I got to rest the guys and make sure they're healthy. I'd rather have them healthy for the playoffs as a 3 seed than try to beat the Browns, a game you might not even win. And then if you lose, you're beat up and you're the 3 seed. I'd rather be healthy and be the 3 seed.
And the Ravens football team, Bills stretch, that was 3 games in 12 days.
Yeah, it's a lot they dealt with. If I'm Tomlin, I'm probably going to the locker room and be like, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to try and go out there and get the 2 seed? We've got the division. Or do you want to give some guys rest? Now, like there are instances where, you might say, hey, listen, TJ Watt, you're a very important player for us, but I want you to go out there and win Defensive Player of the Year. Like that. I mean, that matters.
Pack it in.
So you think you wanted to pack it in, is what you're saying.
You're going to stare at the trophy when you hurt your knee in the first week of the playoffs. Is that going to make you feel better? Your Player of the Year trophy?
I'm asking for what you want the Steelers to do as a Steelers fan.
Rest starters. I don't care. I think the home field advantage doesn't matter, as we talked about. And you can sort of try to figure out who you're going to play. But like you said, there are 4 teams anyway, that could get that final wild card spot and then affect the other seedings above it.
Well, and more importantly than anything, really, is that you do not want to be the 4 seed, because if you're the 2 or the 3 seed, there is a 0% chance you will play the Chiefs in the divisional round.
Yeah, and the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs that we saw last year, but right, you still don't want to play.
I mean, if you're going to pick a team to avoid this year, it's definitely the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, look. Exactly. Every team has flaws. The team with the fewest flaws are the Chiefs.
So according to Sportsline, sent these out, the Ravens playoff chances improved on Sunday from 72% to 96%.
Who's?
The Ravens.
Okay, yeah.
Because we'll talk about them in a second. They play the Bengals, and they're
Bengals ain't no rollovers.
No, we'll get to that in a second. But they're 11.5-point favorites. Cleveland fell from 89% to just 60%. The Colts dropped from 85% to 76%. And of course, Tennessee can clinch an AFC South win with the Texans, with a win over the Texans or a Colts loss.
Did you say what the Browns odds were? I'm sorry.
Browns are now 60% to make the playoffs. But I don't think that I think that factors in like playing the Steelers at full strength. If the Steelers, and remember the Browns are minus 7.5 against the Steelers. So who knows? The Colts, if the Titans lose and the Colts win, the Colts get the division. If the Titans don't win the division, they can clinch a playoff berth with a Ravens or Dolphins loss. And the Colts, if they don't win the AFC South, but win their game, can clinch a playoff berth with a win and a loss by Baltimore, Cleveland, or Miami.
All right. So let's talk about the Browns.
Okay. So Cleveland.
By the way, I wish I told Debo to get this clip. Remember what I said last night about this game?
What'd you say?
The Jets are going to win.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
Did you pick them in your pick?
Actually, you know what? Debo did get that for us.
The Cowboys will be 3-3 after they win tonight, and they have a path to 9 wins. It's not a difficult path.
I was never under the.
If only you would have said they had a path to the playoffs, Ryan. Then you would have gotten the last laugh.
The Cowboys might make the playoffs. We'll get to that too. But look, the Browns. I gotta tell you, man. Yeah, I wish I'd switched my pick to the Jets. I mean, obviously, but when all those dudes got ruled out, and they're asking Baker Mayfield to play with Marvin Hall as his number 1 wide receiver.
Stop it right there, because the Dolphins had 0 receivers, and Fitzmagic made it happen. Tua didn't for whatever reason. But Fitzmagic came in there and was throwing the ball to anyone. He was throwing to fans that won a contest to start the fourth quarter, put on a uniform, and they were making plays. And he didn't have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Yeah. And he wasn't playing the Jets.
No, I agree with you. If you want to blame somebody now, like I'm just saying, if I'm a Browns fan, I'm like, really, you couldn't push this game back a couple of days to see if we could get some.
We're down the home stretch. They ain't pushing nothing back.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, hey, listen, if something happened, you guys got to break out.
I mean, the Broncos are like, yo, we played without a quarterback. Right. You can play without your wide receivers. The Ravens, we didn't have half our running backs, even though our game got pushed back a week. You can play without your wide receivers. But
Breech said it last night. Austin Hooper's going to have a big day. I think he had 71 yards. They have
15 targets, 7 catches.
They had Austin Hooper. They had David Njoku. They had Harrison Bryant. Those are all athletic tight ends. So you had options. And I'll just say this, and you guys can talk. But Baker Mayfield's a front runner. Now, he could be good, but he has to be in an offense in which he is not the primary source of production.
Okay. Just to push back a little bit.
Okay, go ahead. I mean, how'd this game end?
Well, they lost 23-16.
Him fumbling on a 4th down sneak.
Yeah, not great. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt combined for 15 carries.
That's my point.
That's called Kevin Stefanski.
Baker Mayfield has to create productivity. When you're asking him to do that, he can't do it. And that's not, he's just in his 3rd year. I get all that. I'm not saying I hate Baker Mayfield, but all this talk about him, turning the corner, I think you're right. It has a lot to do with Stefanski in terms of the success he's had, but he can't put they were down 20-0? I mean, he can't put a team.
They were down 20-3.
20-3. So he can't put a team on his shoulders yet, and maybe he'll come to that. If they're down 10 in the first half in general, that's a struggle for Baker Mayfield. That's all I'm saying.
The game plan for the Browns. Look, this is a bad matchup because the Jets are actually good against Iran. Although Quentin Williams being out, you're thinking, all right, maybe
it's not a bad match.
No, I don't disagree. They didn't have a good game plan. They came in. Nick Chubb had like 1 yard on 8 carries or 6 carries early on. They couldn't get the run game going at all. They were missing multiple offensive linemen because of COVID situations or injuries.
And Williams didn't play.
I just said that. I'm not trying to make excuses for the Browns. They completely crapped their pants in total Browns fashion against a terrible Jets team that, at least give them credit, they're playing hard. And Adam Gase brought out, I don't know where it's been all season, but he busted out the kitchen sink playbook because he had Jamison Crowder throwing 1st down touchdown passes to Braxton Berrios.
He's a seed too. It was such a great throw.
That was a really good throw. And it was like on the run on an end around, and he's just whips it down to Braxton Berrios for the touchdown. They use Crowder in the run game. The Jets defense played hard. I don't want to make excuses for the Browns. That's a game you can't lose. Like on a scale of if the Colts losing the Steelers game with that lead they had is an 8, this is a 17.
I was going to ask which one was worse. Well, I guess
the Browns is way worse. You got the Jets to clinch the playoffs.
And not only that, if you win this game,
you might win the division.
That's right. They didn't know what was going to happen in Pittsburgh.
And the Browns were missing all their wide receivers. Their defense shouldn't have given up 23 points to the Jets. Like the Jets were going up and down the field. That's the aspect of the game you forget about. And sure, it does set your defense back a little bit when your offense can't move the ball. And the Browns absolutely couldn't move. I mean, look, I was kind of coin flip game, as soon as everybody got rolled out, as soon as all the wide receivers had to sit out. When the Browns came out on their first possession through 3 straight passes, when they have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, and
no wide receivers,
and they went 3 and out, I was like, oh my God, the Jets are going to win this by 40 points. Like, what are the Browns doing here? They're doing the opposite of what they should be doing. And it was just, I don't know what Kevin Stefanski's been such a good coach all season. I just thought he overthought this. Maybe he tried to tear up the old game plan and make it a completely new one on Sunday morning, which, if that was the case, they weren't in a great spot. But man, you got to win this game.
You don't want to totally just kill them for it. Cause I mean, you lose your top 5 wide receivers. That's tough, but you have Harrison Bryant, you have Austin Hooper. You drafted Harrison Bryant with a high pick. David Njoku is a former first-round pick, and you paid Austin Hooper as a free agent. He gave him top tight end free agent money this all season, and you got 2 great running backs. So here's an idea: line up in jumbo 3 tight end packages on every play, pound the ball, and if the Jets start just creeping linebackers and safeties up, start going play action on them. It's pretty simple. Just go get down on the field and throw rocks until the Jets just give up and go home. And that's. Kevin Stefanski's done a good job game planning, but that was I understand
it's a bad day at the office.
Bad day at the office. And now they have to hope the Steelers rest players. We talked about this recently, the whole Marvin Lewis rest his players against Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan gets in the playoffs, curb stomps him in the playoffs. Marvin Lewis loses the playoff game. Time is a flat circle, yada, yada, yada. Do you worry at all if you're a Steelers?
No.
Okay.
I'm playing. This is borrowed time in my mind. You have 2 weeks left. Big Ben's old. You don't know what's going to happen. They may start throwing dink and dunking. They may start dinking and dunking again. So I enjoyed the Colts win. Rest your starters. Let Big Ben's arm rest. And whatever happens in the first week of January in terms of the playoffs, go crazy.
Well, you're not worried that you might see the Browns and.
I mean, you might see the Ravens. I mean, come on now. Yeah, I would rather see the Browns just lost to the Jets. I told you.
But I'm saying, you're not worried about resting your starters and you play you're like, all right, these guys let us in the playoffs. Like they disrespected us, that sort of thing. Okay. All right.
You got to play somebody.
Got to play somebody.
But let's not forget, even if you have Ben Roethlisberger on the bench, the Steelers beat the Browns last season with Duck Hodges, and their defense, Pittsburgh's defense is so good that it's not a given if they keep Ben Roethlisberger on the bench that Cleveland's going to win this game.
And that's the other thing, right? I mean, and the Browns have been known in important games to do things that don't make a lot of sense.
Sure. By the way, credit to Baker Mayfield. Got on the Zoom call after the game and said, I failed this team. He answered one question, and he said, whatever you do not blame the wide receivers who showed up today. He said, I put 3 balls on the ground, 2 of them that they recovered and the other on 4th down. Just hold on to the damn ball. Plain and simple. I have to hold on to the damn ball. Adam Gase. He's not going to steal his job back, is he?
And those Baker fumbles led to 10 points for the Jets. They got a touchdown off the one in the first half and a field goal off the one in the second half. And also, the Browns got kind of hosed over on a call by the officials when Sam Darnold appeared to fumble the ball.
Oh, that was a bad one.
Returned it for a touchdown, and they called an incomplete pass, and
it was straight up in the air, if not backwards. That was
like a touchdown.
Awful call by the officials, and unsurprisingly, they screwed it up. There was one of those in Washington, Carolina, too, that we'll get to as well. But so Adam Gase not getting fired Monday, as Jason Lockenford reported, a loss might caused him to get fired. He's definitely gonna get fired.
Yeah, you're not bringing him back. The offense has been terrible.
You sure?
All right, you hire him then.
No, absolutely not. He's
okay,
terrible.
there's your answer.
It's raining taco.
What if they beat the Patriots and end the season with
They have to beat the
straight
Patriots.
wins?
They have to beat the Patriots by 200 points for Adam Gase to save his job.
What if they literally win 51-7?
If they win 51-7, will you get a tattoo of Adam Gase's taco eyes on your butt?
Breech, that's to you. That's
Me
not
or
me.
Wilson?
Breech.
I'll draw it.
If they win exactly 51-7, I will.
Okay, there you go.
All right, hold on. We'll put that in the podcast tattoo bank. If
What's more likely? The Steelers losing to Ryan Finley or 51 points by the Jets against the Patriots?
Oh my God. Now I've got to sweat this one out.
Can you imagine if it's like 40, it's like 42, or it's like some number where it's like, you can't like get
live blog.
Or no, it's like 43-7 and the Jets had the ball. Like, well, they're definitely going to run the clock. And Gase is calling like deep shots. And then like,
and he goes for two because he wants to run up the score.
And he like looks up at like the camera and he's like, like, hey, Gase, listen, it's cool.
I know I'm getting fired. I'm running up the score on Belichick.
Yeah. Or he listens, he wants Breech to get
51-7. All right.
51-7. Breech gets Adam Gase taco eyes tattoo on his butt.
I'm part Mexican. The taco will work out. I don't know how the Gase thing is going to look, but
explain that one. All right. What's next?
What's next is the Ravens beating the Giants 27-13. The Ravens covered easily. One of my best bets. I went 2-4 on my best bets. I stink this year. But my picks are good. The under 43.5 hits. Lamar Jackson was pretty great. And as we mentioned, the Ravens jack up their playoff odds to 96%. I believe if they win, they're in. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yes. So they have to beat the Bengals, who are 11.5-point favorites.
We've seen crazier things happen.
True that.
Crazier things have happened.
Let me ask you this. Where do the Ravens rank in terms of the possible wild card teams? So there are 5 possible wild card teams.
Are we ranking the Dolphins with Fitzpatrick or without Fitzpatrick?
The Dolphins, as you know them, as in 3/4 of Tua and 1 of Fitzpatrick.
Right. Okay. Fitzpatrick is the relief pitcher.
Yeah, exactly. It's called a closer, Brian. So you're a Steelers fan. You are you're ranking how these possible.
I don't want to face number 1, the Ravens, number 2, the Titans, number 3, the Colts, number 4, the Dolphins, and then the Bengals. I mean, sorry, it's the Bengals, the Browns.
I mixed up the Bengals and the Browns. What a slap in the face.
It's a slap in the face.
Everyone.
What about you, Breech? How do you think they rank out?
I do agree that the Ravens are the team I would not want to face. I mean, they've won 4 in a row. They've gone over 34 points in 3 of those games. 27 was their lowest output. So I'd go Ravens as the top. Probably Titans 2, Colts 3. Browns 4, Dolphins 5.
Oh,
But if it's Fitzpatrick playing 4 quarters, I up the Dolphins to 2nd or 3rd.
Second or third, 7. I mean,
in the wild card, out of the wild card teams, not in the AFC.
So the Ravens odds to win the Super Bowl 12-1. The Steelers 20-1 on William Hill right now. And Debo and I have a mind melt going because I was about to go look at that myself. By the way, Baltimore can actually clinch with a win, a Cleveland loss, or an Indianapolis loss.
By the way, that reminds me, my Super Bowl pick's looking a lot better now. Tampa Bay over Baltimore.
Ooh, that's fun. They're both 12-1. They're tied there at 12-1. I think the thing with the Ravens, and I don't know that you can bet them at 12-1, even though they're probably going to get in.
I don't hate 12-1.
I don't hate them. You just wish you'd bet them at 18-1.
I like that 12-1 much better than Josh Allen 12-1.
For sure. I agree with that. The reason I would be interested in betting it is because over the last 4 weeks, they finally, like, Lamar looks like he did at the beginning of 2019. So if they somehow reverse engineered this thing where they, like if that team at the beginning of 2019 was unstoppable, and for stretches of the regular season too, like after they lost, lost to San Francisco?
I don't even remember. Yeah, it was like a sloppy rain game, I think. Was that? No, that was
No, they lost to Cleveland. They didn't lose again.
Yep.
Cleveland hung a 40 burger when Nick Chubb, when Baker Mayfield was doing the like running down the field for Nick Chubb, and then they didn't lose again. This is what Baltimore kind of looks like right now. I don't know if it's as good. Their defense isn't quite as dangerous as it was at the end of last year.
But their
offensive line, but man, I mean, they can, if they get a lead on you, they can lean on you.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson still isn't lighting it up. He's a 17-26, but he did have 2 touchdowns. No interceptions. Marquise Brown had a touchdown, getting more involved. Des Bryant's had touchdowns in back-to-back games, and J.K. Dobbins, he's going to be a problem.
He's awesome. By the way, the Ravens losses this year: Kansas City, twice to Pittsburgh, New England, and Tennessee. That's it. Those are not bad losses. New England stinks, and you should have.
The point.
Yeah, but like the teams that they've beaten outside of the Patriots are all going to be playoff. The teams that they lost.
Well, and 4 of those 5 losses were by 1 score. So they were all games Baltimore could have conceivably won. And, all of a sudden that playoff berth is already locked up. So, I mean, that's what makes them scary is they can literally beat anyone except for the Chiefs.
But go ahead, Breech, finish the story about what, go ahead. You know what I'm going to say?
That you can't take them to win the Super Bowl because to win the Super Bowl, you got to win a playoff game first. The Ravens haven't won a playoff game with Lamar Jackson.
Isn't it unbelievable that Breech of all people,
glass houses Breech?
Yeah, Marvin Lewis.
My
Andy
glass
Dalton.
house shattered but now it's being built up back with Andy Dalton's eyelashes. But we'll talk about that later.
Breech sleeps in a pile of glass
I heard
shards.
it for 5 straight years how Andy Dalton can't win a playoff game. I just want to see Lamar Jackson win a playoff game. That's it. If he wants,
like it.
I mean,
it's what it is.
So if he loses in the wild card round this year and goes 0-3, that's not a thing that people are going to talk about all offseason.
Of course it is. People talk about it all last offseason, but you're the guy who's like projecting your own shortcomings on somebody else.
Breech.
Yeah. He's
like the AFC North.
Right. It's an AFC North quarterback who hadn't won a playoff game. You are loving the idea of Lamar Jackson being
the new Andy Dalton.
That's
right.
Yeah. He has a Google alert for Lamar Jackson loses playoff games.
If the Ravens are favored over who? The Bills, Steelers, and Titans. Any of those teams?
Titans, I think, given the way the Titans played. It depended on what the Titans do in week 17, but I think the Titans. The other
Steelers are favored over the Ravens in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, I bet it'll be like 1.5, 2.
Yeah. And the Bills are probably favored over the Ravens.
3.5, I bet.
Yeah.
Quickly before we move on, I wanted to say this about the Giants who lost this game, and we haven't talked about it. Just one thing. Giants Daily tweeted this out after the game. The Giants are 14-33 since hiring Dave Gettleman as their general manager. Only teams with more losses than the Giants during that span.
Don't say it.
Are the Jets, and the Bengals and the Jets. So the point is they were in the. I mean, look, they're not eliminated. They're not out of it. But the problem is that I think they should be doing better. And Jason Lockefour wrote about this on Sunday evening, Monday morning. Jason Garrett may be out of a job at some point in the offseason as the OC.
Yeah.
Well, the Giants may want to they've averaged 8.7 points in their last 3 games. 8.7.
Even the Steelers think that's putrid.
Is that good?
I don't think it's.
If you're playing baseball, it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
you soccer, it's good too.
You don't get points in baseball. Maybe they could rethink the Freddie Kitchens experiment.
That went so well last week. All right.
No, you're fine. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, we'll tell you why the Rams may find themselves on the outside looking in of not just the division, but the playoffs as a whole. Seahawks 20, Rams 9. If it weren't for Carson Wentz, Jared Goff would be under a microscope. But according to a report initially from Mike Silver and Ian Rappaport of NFL Media, Jared Goff has a broken right thumb. Ryan is doing the thing on the YouTube where you can't see the thumb. Be careful. There are people out there with no thumbs, like my stepfather-in-law. Actually, I was like, Pop, I didn't know you were left-handed. And my wife and mother-in-law look at me. They're like, he doesn't have a thumb on his right hand, Brinson.
He's one-handed.
I was like, I didn't think about that. I guess you can't write like that. I guess you could.
Remember,
he literally has no thumb. It's crazy.
it happens. Remember,
I thought it happened in like the war or something, but it was like a fireworks accident.
I was gonna say, like, was he like using like a shop class or something? Remember also yesterday when
that might have been it. Yeah.
When I wasn't talking about the Jets winning against the Browns, I also said, "Hey, who would you rather have, Jared Goff or Baker Mayfield?" And you guys sort of laughed at me. I think that's it's still half a dozen.
Wait, did we laugh at you?
I laughed at you. I laughed at you and said Baker Mayfield.
I think we both said Baker, but just like begrudgingly.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think now it's like more clear than ever that you don't want Jared Goff.
This stat blows my mind for a couple of reasons. So in the last 2 seasons, Baker Mayfield is 5th in terms of all-time turnovers. Turnovers last 2 seasons, he has 33. You know who number 1 is?
Jared Goff.
Yes, Jared Goff.
37, tied with Daniel Jones coming into this week. So
I think he has 23 games in that stretch with a turnover too.
That's amazing. The most amazing part of this stat, you know who is 3rd on the list?
Daniel Jones? Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston. He is at 35. He has not played 1 snap this year, or maybe just 1 snap. But Daniel Jones is tied for first. So anyway, go ahead.
No, that's incredible. No, I mean, look, the Rams were a team that Breech and I were kind of high on. Yeah, I guess so.
I kept
and now it doesn't seem so smart because, man, they have been just terrible. And I mean,
Goff wasn't good, and they still had a chance to win this game. They were down at the 1-yard line for 2 plays in the 3rd quarter, couldn't score. The play calling was just horrible. Sean McVay usually does a great job of play calling. Play calling was horrible there.
Jamal Adams made a great play on that one touchdown saving tackle against Darrell Henderson, I think.
Yeah, that's how they got down to the 1. That was a run from the 4 that got saved, obviously the touchdown, and they were set up at the 1-yard line. Jared Goff tried a QB sneak, which literally you can tell how athletic a quarterback is by their QB sneak. Like Tom Brady does not get stopped on a QB sneak. Jared Goff looked like a meatloaf trying to like roll down a pan covered in syrup. Like that is just how absurd this was. He had no chance. He literally had no chance. I know any Rams fan watching this was probably like pulling their hair out because it just wasn't going to happen. And then on 4th, they went up the middle with Malcolm Brown and not even up the middle, went to the right a little bit and had no chance. It was just bad play calling.
Steelers running play. By the way,
I was going to add to the Jared Goff's 23rd game with a turnover since the start of 2019.
The turnover was one of the worst interceptions you'll ever see. There was no one wearing a Rams uniform. By the way, those Rams uniforms, I don't know if I like them or not. They're like a dingy white, and
they're bone. The color's bone.
That's the thing. It's a fine.
I think they're actually made out of bone too.
That would explain why Jared Goff had trouble throwing the ball overhand. It was a very restrictive jersey. But that interception was terrible. At times, it felt like
real quick, the interception was a game breaker because the Rams were up 6-3. They were in Seahawks territory inside the 30-yard line. If he doesn't throw an interception, if they just kneel it 3 times and kick a field goal, you're up 9-3 going into halftime, which is a huge difference than being tied 6-6.
They also, look, you can't. So John Walford is the guy who might have to start for the Rams.
That's the other thing. Why is he the backup?
Yeah. It is weird. So Sean McVay, we all agree, is a very good coach. Certainly better than other coaches.
A little too conservative sometimes for being a young.
A little too conservative? He's one of the most conservative coaches in football. He's a really good run designer or like a play designer. He's a good play caller. He's a smart game planner, but his in game, he's incredibly conservative. It's infuriating. Like you can't be him and Cliff Kingsbury. How can you be that young and good looking and cool and offensive and be so conservative when it comes to going for it on 4th down? It drives me bananas.
I wonder if that a lot of it perhaps has to do with the quarterback being Jared Goff.
No, I think that's just who McVay is. But, with Goff, you have to have a good run game going. Cam Akers is probably unlikely to play. He's a high ankle sprain. There's almost no chance he plays in week 17. Darrell Henderson almost scored a touchdown in this. Darrell Henderson ran the ball pretty well. And he had a great run around the edge and was about to go into the end zone and got walked down by Jamal Adams on a crazy play, like a crazy tackle. It resulted in Henderson leaving, I believe, with an ankle injury, so he might not be able to play week 17. And Malcolm Brown is just a guy. And they had a 1st and goal on the 1 after the Henderson.
We literally just talked about this.
I know, but I know that, but I'm saying that the Henderson injury is a problem.
Okay, yeah, no, I agree. I think Jared Goff's a bigger problem. I think you can find a running back much easier than you can find John Wall.
Yeah, but you drafted 2 guys in the 2nd round, or maybe Henderson was 3rd round. You drafted you got Malcolm Brown and a banged up offensive line and Jared Goff.
Okay. I mean, he's not terrible, but the point is, Jared Goff's the problem.
Well, we're going to find out. I think it's going to be interesting to see what John Wolford can do in the Rams offense. I think everybody's wondering, what could another quarterback do in Sean McVay's offense? What if they go out and win with him? What if they win a playoff game with him? Does that throw a wrench in anything? Or is it, we owe Jared Goff so much money, it doesn't matter?
What are we talking about? John Wolford's not going to go out. Dude.
You don't think he can beat the Cardinals? McVay's never
Breech
watched the Cardinals.
Breech, we did the early line look ahead, and the Cardinals before the Goff injury were the Rams were -5.
Yeah.
And Breech was like, I think it'll probably go down to 2 or 3.
Maybe 1, but I said the Rams would be
No,
favored.
the Cardinals are going to be favored now if no Goff.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
I don't think Goff's worth 5 points.
John Wolford's he's never thrown an NFL pass.
He's about to throw about 30 of them.
Might be 50.
Might be 50. Quickly for the Seahawks, here's something that worth noting, and I'll ask the question first and then add a comment and you can answer the question. Is Jamal Adams worth 2 first-round picks? Number 1. And number 2, last 6 games, this Seahawks defense is allowing fewer than 14 points a game.
No is the answer to Jamal Adams. Is he worth 2 first-round picks? And I like Jamal Adams because he is, as you guys probably know, a friend of the podcast. And also
a friend of Pat Pete and BMAX podcast.
He's on our podcast before theirs. You were sitting there at the Super Bowl with him.
I was when Breech tried to steal the hat. Remember that? The Wilson hat?
The Wilson hat that was made of pigskin.
Well, Jamal Adams actually said,
hate animals.
That's right. Jamal, I gave you mine. Jamal Adams actually said, to me, we're the best defense in the league. You can quote that. Well, yes, of course they're going to quote that. You're saying it to somebody. And we haven't even played our best football yet. That's the scary part. Now, I would push back a little bit on the notion, and I said this a few weeks ago, I believe. I know I said it on Seattle radio.
Quickly, though, is he worth 2 picks at number 25 then?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
Not if you had to pay him. Here are the quarterbacks that Jamal Adams has faced in the stretch that you just referenced. Carson Wentz, Carson Wentz, Colt McCoy,
3rd-round pick.
Sam Darnold,
1st-round pick.
Dwayne Haskins.
Oh, God. Undrafted free agent.
1st-round pick. And Jared Goff.
There you go. He's crushing it.
Actually, all the quarterbacks they've played, they've been high picks. Yeah. My point being is that I think that, actually Wentz, Colt McCoy, Sam Darnold, Dwayne Haskins, and Jared Goff, all 3rd-round picks are better. I just think Seattle's getting a little fat and happy against some bad defenses.
But it's an improvement over the first 10. The first 9 games was a debacle, to make up a word.
No doubt about it.
Jamal Adams has helped. Breech's Carlos Dunlap has helped, and they're trending in the right direction, as the old people say.
Seattle unders are hitting
this felt like the test too, where you're saying they're just building up these great defensive numbers because their last 4 weeks have been against 3 NFC East teams and the Jets and those 4 quarterbacks Brinson just mentioned. So it was like, well, what do we do? Can we sustain this against a Rams offense that has kind of had their way with us over the past couple of years?
That's the other thing.
And they did. So I think you have to give them credit at some point, because otherwise you're going to go playoff making your pick saying, my God, they beat CJ Beathard. They beat broken thumb Jared Goff and all the quarterbacks Brinson just mentioned. That will be their 6 games going into the postseason.
Okay. So the Cardinals and the Rams will play, and the winner goes to the playoffs. And then the loser
might go to the playoffs.
Has to see what happens in Bears-Packers. And if the Bears win, the loser of Rams-Cardinals is out. And if the Bears lose, then both the Rams and Cardinals are in. That is correct, right, Breech?
If the Bears lose, then the Cardinals are out if they lose. If the Bears lose and go 8-8, the
that's
Cardinals are out at 8-8.
That's right. The Bears have the tiebreaker over the Cardinals.
Yes.
So if the Bears win, the
And
winner
what
of
you said.
Rams and Cardinals is in, and the loser is out.
If the Bears win, Rams-Cardinals is an elimination game.
Correct. If the Bears lose and the Cardinals beat the Rams, the Cardinals and Rams are in. If the Bears lose and the Rams beat the Cardinals, the Rams and Bears are in.
The Bears losing, obviously the Rams, they're playing at the same time, so it's not like they can plan for it. But if all of a sudden the Packers are up like 45-0 and you're the Rams and if the Bears are losing and it doesn't matter to the Rams anymore, you know, like you have your backup quarterback in, are you just calling run plays and just like trying to get out there and end the game?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like
yeah.
if you get to halftime and the Bears are getting stomped, but you know you're in the playoffs no matter what
Are
happens.
you how much score checking do you think is happening in that Rams game?
I feel like there's
because you can't have a phone, but you can get like updates.
Well, I mean, they give the scores in the stadium, and I'm sure you're going to have an assistant coach on watch.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe, some coaches do it differently. They don't want to like.
Right.
That you want to know.
Everyone's checking at halftime. I'll say that.
Yes.
At the minimum. At the bare
You're
minimum.
getting it updated at halftime. Like, hey, what's Rodgers doing? Oh, it's 31-7 over Trubisky. All right. You know what? We're going to run the ball with Malcolm Brown 32 times in the second half because we know we're in no matter what.
Right. And the Cardinals would love that.
And did the Seahawks win the division?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
As I predicted, nerds.
Yeah.
You know what else I predicted?
Ryan, I also predicted it.
Here's what you didn't predict.
Wow.
The Giants winning the division, which they can still do.
Funny you mentioned that, but before we get to the Giants, we're going to talk about actually, I guess we already talked about the Giants. Panthers took down, speaking of things that people predicted, I predicted the Panthers would take down the Washington football team, and they did. Panthers win 20-13, setting up a crazy final week for the NFC East, except for, actually we'll combine these two games, except for
sorry, Debo.
The one team that is no longer in the playoff hunt in the NFC East, the former minus like 500 favorite, the Philadelphia Eagles, who lost to, Is that Andy Dalton's music? Andy Dalton lights up the Eagles 37-17.
They were up 14-3. The Eagles were.
And then
can I just say real quick that this was like getting 5 bonus Christmases today. I mean, first, the Bengals won at 1, which we'll talk about for 5 seconds. So I'm mentioning it right now. And that blew my mind. And then this Cowboys win where Andy Dalton played his mind out. I mean, Debo, every time Andy Dalton threw a touchdown pass where you're like, I don't even want to be a part of the podcast because all Breech is going to talk about is Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I'm thinking about muting you right now, but Andy Dalton can do that against practice squad defensive backs all he wants. Congratulations to Andy Dalton for that. He will not make the playoffs, and we know he won't make the playoffs, and we know he won't win a playoff game, so I'm okay.
2 dunks in 1 sentence.
That sounds like a sore loser.
Debo.
Well, Debo, you can send your $20 to an escrow account that I've set up, and I will keep it until the winner is due to be paid next week.
Well, I lost my arse on the Eagles at 7-1 to win the. I was feeling good about it. Jalen Hurts looked good out of the gate. All right, so Debo, we're lumping all these 2 games into one, but I do think the Cowboys-Eagles might be a little more interesting. I mean, 37-17 Cowboys win. All right, so where's your head at with respect to Philly's season? I'm sure that you believed up until the final Jalen Hurts fourth quarter fumble that the Eagles were going to manage to pull out a comeback. And, where's your head at for 2021? This is obviously not what Eagles fans hope for. And, it would be pretty trying. Like, you'd almost rather be the Bengals, just a pathetically run organization with no hope and no future whatsoever, rather than the Eagles, who now you're going to have like 9 months of turmoil.
Yeah. You guys know that I've been pretty calm all season and hopeful that the Eagles would win the division because I realized early on how bad this division would be. So in the back of my mind, I was always like, okay, they're still going to be in it in week 16, probably week 17. So I was pretty calm about how things were going, knowing that things weren't great and things had to be addressed in the offseason, but with the hope of the playoffs and maybe anything could happen at the end of it. After today, this is the most pissed I've been all season. I was upset. You know, you can make the excuses that they're depleted with injuries, and they were. It started on offense, and this week it transitioned to the defense, and that was clear with the way that Andy Dalton played. Make excuses with, you know, referees not knowing what a fumble is, but ultimately Jalen Hurts wasn't good enough today. I think, you know, we have to temper ourselves a little bit after 2 games and calling him a franchise quarterback. The execution wasn't there. Doug Peterson play calling wasn't there. It's really disappointing. You know, you think amongst one of the all-time bad divisions that you can at least be alive in week 17 and at least have that chance against Washington, and to fall short a week short, it's depressing.
I think it's particularly tough because, you know, we looked at these early odds and the Eagles are 2-point favorites over Washington, despite being eliminated from the playoffs. It's also tough because you're the one team out of these 4 little turd piles that is, you know, not in the hunt in week 17. Like, you just don't have any hope. And then, you know, as soon as week 17 ends, there's no magical playoff run.
And the great irony is that part of the reason they're in the situation is because the Breech is Bengals, the tie. They win that game.
Tie doesn't look so good now, does it, Debo?
Oh my goodness.
There's passive aggressive Breech.
I mean,
busting through the door.
I don't think that was passive.
That was aggressive.
The tie was going to be the helpful thing. The tie was going to be what I said all season from the Bengals game. 6-9-1 was going to pay off until today, where injuries and everything else caught up with them. But yeah, the offseason, I'm in my mind, I'm going through like draft prospects about 30 minutes after that game ended. And, you know, you're going to have probably a top 5 pick. I never, ever root for them to lose until they're all the way out. But I hope they get blasted by Washington next week. But the quarterback thing, and I'm trying not to devote too much attention to it now because I know it's going to consume everything in the offseason. But
oh yeah,
it's an interesting one. And Jalen Hurts looked like a rookie today. Started strong, like Ryan said, 14-3. It's inexcusable after that fact. You get outscored 34-3 the rest of the way.
Andy Dalton
has a fumbling problem, just like
Andrew Gregory Dalton.
Is Fletcher? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, here's my prediction, Debo, and tell me what you think about this. Here's my prediction. So tell me what you think, Debo. I think here's what's going to happen. They're going to go into the offseason, and they're going to say it's going to be an open quarterback competition. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. It's Carson Wentz's because he makes too much money. Jalen didn't look great on Sunday. Jalen will play in week 17. We'll see what comes of that. But I think Carson will have the job coming out of training camp, and he'll have 4 weeks. And then it'll be a wrap. That's just my guess.
And then it's just the same thing as we went through this year.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think.
But they make the move earlier, like they should have.
Because I don't think anyone's trading for Carson Wentz at that price tag, right?
Maybe John Elway.
Maybe John Elway.
We've seen crazier things happen with trades in the NFL, and I think removing some bias, I think some teams might see the tad of potential of 2019 and prior, rather than looking at 2020 Carson Wentz. So maybe a team identifies that and targets him, but that's one of those things we have a lot of time to talk about as well.
Yeah, we don't need to belabor that point right now.
Somebody on Twitter said because the Cowboys ended the Eagles season that Debo should have to get an Andy Dalton tattoo and let me draw it.
You said that tweet, dummy.
This is from like at Bron Jeech.
Yes, that's exactly
2000.
I will shout out a podcast listener that challenged me in the offseason to make a bet for charity, and he said that the Giants would finish with more wins than the Eagles, and I honestly thought Andrew was the biggest idiot in the world. I'm happy to donate to his charity, though. I honestly thought he was one of the dumbest people I've ever encountered on the internet, but I will.
Ebo, you sound so defeated. You guys can tie. What if the Eagles win next week and the Giants lose?
Then the
then
Eagles
you're
will have
even.
a better record, and I'm back in.
Ooh, that would be a discussion, like more wins or better record.
Right.
Also, for Andrew, this is for you, pal, on Debo.
Yeah, you got me there.
Oh, I didn't mean to hit it again. Sorry. So
Hey, here's the good news. The Eagles have a better quarterback situation than football team.
yeah. So Dwayne Haskins
Sucks.
is awful. He is terrible. Not only do you have the whole situation where he just, does
We didn't talk about that, right?
Well,
What did you guys expect when you have starting a guy who was at a strip club last Sunday night?
Here's the
after
thing.
a loss.
How much do you think he's paying attention in practice if you're going out after a loss during a pandemic? Like, if a dude wants to go out in a strip club on his own time,
and your coach has battled cancer this
Like,
season.
right? And you're not wearing a mask. Like, this is just, you don't give a crap about anyone else. That's the problem. Like, do whatever you want with your time, but you can't just be, trying to. It's just a horrible decision making.
Blatantly violate the rules when you're not. You're right. Here's the thing. I don't care if you go to strip clubs, like go crazy, but you can't do it 45 minutes after you lose to the Seahawks. Not wear a mask. Have people take pictures of you when your coach, as you point out, Brinson, is recovering from cancer. Dude, you're a first round pick. Bring the strippers to your house if you have to do it on Sunday night. If you can't wait till Tuesday.
Exactly.
It's just like the sheer stupidity.
And people are going to be taking pictures. You're an NFL quarterback who is out in public without a mask. Like, there are segments of the population who are dying to get people like that in trouble. Like, I'm going to tattletale and tweet this out, or put it on Instagram, or put it on TikTok, or put it on Snapchat.
Like, check out who rolled up to the club. It's Dwayne Haskins. Like, you just can't do that. It's one of the, I don't want to call it one of the most boneheaded moves of the last 10 years, because that would be glossing over a bunch of boneheaded moves by NFL players. But over the last 9 months, it's easily the most boneheaded move by any NFL player that we've seen, excluding maybe the undrafted free agent who was trying to sneak his girl into the training camp for the Seahawks.
But at least he brought her into the dorm. He didn't go out and meet her at a strip club. So I give him credit for that.
Right.
Who didn't go to a strip club, by the way? Taylor Heineke.
Who looked kind of frisky out there.
Yeah, he has a worse arm than Ben Roethlisberger, but he was trying to do a touchdown pass. Great catch by J.J. McKissick there at the end to make it much closer.
Breech, what happened with the Zoom call after the game, by the way? Because I accused Dwayne Haskins of skipping out, but apparently that's not the case.
This could also be spin control by Haskins' camp. So let's not take any of these stories as fact. But the initial story was that Dwayne Haskins was so mad he just left the stadium, didn't meet with the media. And Washington's PR was trying to get a hold of him. They couldn't do it. It was like he was ducking his calls. But then the story got updated, and apparently we had Dwayne Haskins thought that Taylor Heineke was going to be the only quarterback speaking, and that he was allowed to leave without speaking to the media. And at that point, he was driving back to his house, which is why he did not answer the calls from Washington's PR team, because, you're not supposed to be on your phone and driving. But he did talk to them once he got back to his house. And when they told him he needed to be speaking with the media after the game, he ended up setting up a Zoom call. So
he doesn't have Bluetooth in his car?
He didn't wear a mask to a strip club. I don't know.
It is illegal to answer phone calls while you're driving in DC.
Some places. Okay.
No, like you're not allowed. Like if you get caught talking on the phone,
even Bluetooth.
So he just kind of picks and chooses which.
I mean, you definitely see a scenario where he's like, that's. And like,
to be fair, this is a guy who does a lot of smart things. Like he wouldn't be driving to the strip club and he, like, there's no way he goes to the strip club and answers the phone on the way to the strip club.
Right. I mean, like the worst thing that's happened to Dwayne Haskins in the past month is that they scheduled the Washington football team to play in week 17 from 8 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Because now he just can't go. He's like, well, I mean, I'm sorry, Ron, I have other plans.
What an unmitigated disaster.
And you know what's crazy is he was so bad that if Alex Smith isn't healthy, and like you cannot throw a hobbled Alex Smith out there. I totally understand why they didn't start him this week. You can't have a guy coming off 17 surgeries who almost died and play him unless he's close to 100%.
By the way, Breech, that's those 17. He has a calf injury now. He has a calf injury on the good leg where they took out some muscles from that calf from the good leg to put on the other leg where he had the 17 surgeries.
Exactly what I was going to point out. I think Chris Mortensen reported that it's like the reason Alex Smith can't play is because his calf is so weak because they attached his calf muscle to the injured leg, and Dwayne Haskins can't put a mask on around strippers in a pandemic. What are we doing here?
Read the update from Debo about what Haskins said. It is hilarious. It makes it even sillier.
Okay, so update. Though he left the stadium.
No, keep going.
No, at the bottom.
He pretty much just said that.
Oh, right. He wasn't a strip club. It was a private party with strippers.
I mean, come on.
Big distinction.
I do think that is
So
better.
he brought the strip club to him.
Or he went somewhere where there were strippers and he went to a party after a loss. Look, young professional athlete, and apparently it was something like to help his girl's company. I get it, but you gotta understand the optics, Dwayne. You're under fire. The only reason they started you on Sunday in week 16 is because no one else was healthy.
Worth pointing out, Taylor Heinicke started one game for the Carolina Panthers in 2018. He was out of football in 2019. He was only signed by the football team on December 8th to the practice squad. He was only called from the practice squad on December 19th. That's how desperate they were for a quarterback. That's why Dwayne Haskins played.
If Dwayne Haskins, if Alex Smith and Kyle Allen are both healthy, Dwayne Haskins gets cut for what he did. Or at least suspended by the team internally or something like that.
Well, how's all this going to go down if Dwayne Haskins has to play in week 17? You can't possibly have any confidence in him.
Why would you not put?
Also, he's not good at football.
What if Heinicke gets injured? Is Dwayne Haskins your backup? Something could happen that puts Dwayne Haskins back on the field. He's not going to be motivated to play at all. He didn't look motivated in this game.
No, he did. He did not.
He's not going to be motivated in week 17.
I wonder if there's like a Derek Anderson type they could bring in who knows the offense.
They signed Steven Montez, another rookie, when they signed Heinicke, I think. But I mean, if they don't, under any circumstances, want to put Dwayne back out there, they can just roll some rando out there.
Suffice to say, Dwayne Haskins will not be on the Washington football team.
I would go so far as to say that Dwayne Haskins may have played his last NFL snap in a regular season game.
I mean, did you hear Ian Eagle on the broadcast today?
I didn't hear the volume. I didn't have it up.
He goes, so they pull Haskins for Heinicke, and he goes, that appears to be Dwayne Haskins' last snap for Washington today, and in all likelihood, the last snap with Washington for his career, which is not something you typically say. And I'm not disagreeing with Ian Eagle at all. I'm just saying you don't typically hear announcers say that like on a week 16 broadcast in the middle of a quarterback change.
He saw the same thing we saw.
Also, he spent the whole week talking to Ron Rivera and Scott Turner, the coaching staff.
You could spend the whole week talking to no one and see 15 minutes Dwayne Haskins and understand exactly what Ian Eagle said.
I tweeted that Dwayne Haskins I was like, he will be playing somewhere else in 2021. And I got like 50 replies like, yeah, probably not. not like he's going to be playing with Washington. He just won't be playing anywhere.
Yeah, the XFL better start out real quick if he wants a job.
So Giants still in it. Cowboys still in it. Washington still in it. Debo's money is in escrow. One of us will be $60 richer as of Sunday night with the two teams play on Sunday Night Football. Who do you think wins Washington, Philly, and who wins the NFC East, Ryan?
So let me do the math. Breech, you can correct me. So the Giants play. Who do they play next week?
Cowboys.
So the Giants have to beat the Cowboys. And then they need the Eagles to beat football team. And if that happens, I'm winning that money because the Giants are going to the playoffs, baby.
What?
So
you know what's funny is I'm going to stick with my team. I think the winner of the Giants-Cowboys game is going to the playoffs. I think Washington's going to lose because their quarterback situation is such trash right now. The final score is going to be like 9-6 because that defensive line is going to pound Jalen Hurts. And I think the winner of the Cowboys-Giants game is going to the postseason. I think it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys are going to the playoffs.
So it's pretty simple. If Washington wins, and this is why the Washington-Philly game, despite it being Jalen Hurts against Taylor Heinicke or Steven Montez, is on Sunday Night Football. If Washington wins, they are in the playoffs no matter what. The outcome of Dallas, New York does not affect Washington, Philly. Philly is out. Washington is in if they win. But if Philly beats Washington, the winner of New York, Dallas, will go to the playoffs. So I would urge NBC to take the team that won earlier in the day, Dallas or New York, get some kind of cameras on these guys and let them watch, like give us a simulcast channel. Go to NBC Sports. the NBC Sports Channel, and give us a feed of whether it's Jason Garrett, Joe Judge, and Freddie Kitchens.
Like announcing the tournament bracket for NCAA.
Exactly. Maybe they're eating one of those popcorn tins you get at Christmas. Of course, obviously Joe Judge is the regular popcorn. Freddie Kitchens is caramel, and Jason Garrett is slamming the cheese popcorn. But yeah, give us that broadcast. Okay, moving along to the Bears and Jaguars. We have to talk about this game, huh?
Yeah.
Bears beat the crap out of the Jaguars. Mr. Trubisky was pretty good. Jimmy Graham caught a touchdown. 2 touchdowns? He gets 2 touchdowns?
2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
You know crap is going good for the Bears when Jimmy Graham is catching 2 touchdowns.
Seriously. The Bears have scored 30-plus points in 4 straight games for the first time since 1965. The coach of that team, George Halas, Gale Sayers was on that club. Mitchell Trubisky since week 12, 248.6 passing yards, 68% completion percentage, 10 touchdowns, 4 picks, 7.4 yards per attempt. Do the Bears, Breech, make the playoffs?
I think they do. I think I said it on Saturday night's podcast that I could very well see the Bears getting in at 8-8. So maybe they beat the Packers. They probably don't beat the Packers. But I know it sounds crazy because Jared Goff is probably out for this Rams game, but I think the Rams probably beat the Cardinals. I think the Bears are getting to the postseason. To Brinson's chagrin, although Brinson, you hated them. I feel like you kind of jumped on the bandwagon in support, and then you loved them because you were picking them, hoping they would lose, and then you decided you're going to pick them to lose every week, and then you noticed they were good, and you were back on their bandwagon. Where are you right now?
It's a great question, Breech. I appreciate you asking. So official stance on the Bears currently is that nothing has changed. So I feel completely vindicated on the Bears. The people who are peacocking at 5-1 when they're the number 1 seed in the NFC obviously have to know they were wrong, right? Like the Bears cratered and lost a bunch of games in a row and looked like frauds. The Bears are not a good football team. Now, I am a little nervous that they would get to the playoffs and make some kind of run, but all of that is mitigated by the fact that I feel supremely confident the Bears will not win a Super Bowl or make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, don't you agree with that?
Will you get a Mitchell Trubisky tattoo if the Bears win the Super Bowl?
I
am getting Adam Gase with taco eyes if the Jets beat the Patriots 51-7. Ryan Wilson is going to have a Ryan Finley tattoo by this time in April.
I think that 4 weeks ago I would have been like, yeah, sure, whatever. But now it's like, whoa, we're sort of getting attacked by karma here.
I mean, we know so many Bears fans that I think they would eat this up. They would probably learn how to tattoo people online just so they could do it to you.
The Bears are 80-1 to win the Super Bowl. That is some deep odds. So, I don't know. No, I don't think so.
Where's Wilson to help me talk you into this?
I can't deal with that.
So you're going to talk trash about the Bears all season, but not back it up and say they can't win it.
I mean, they're just not going to win it, but like, I want them to get to the playoffs because I want Mitchell Trubisky to get a contract extension. I want Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy to stick around. I want the Bears fans to lose. I want them to suffer through a first-round loss and all of this baggage that comes with it to torpedo the franchise. Because
the Cardinals are also 80-1. What if I said I'll get a Cardinals tattoo if Arizona wins it all?
Who do you think is more likely to win at 80-1?
I don't want to say because
I think it's the Cardinals. You think it's the Bears?
I think the Bears are more likely than the Cardinals.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I mean, Kyler Murray, I feel like is more likely to go get loose than. The Bears are not winning the effing Super Bowl. It's just not happening.
If you were watching on YouTube, Wilson had to go to the bathroom, but he's back, so I got to refresh him on what just happened. Wilson,
yeah,
Brinson's been talking trash about the Bears all year, so I asked him if the Bears won the Super Bowl, would he be willing to get a Mitchell Trubisky tattoo?
Yeah, why wouldn't you do that?
He won't do it.
I'm a little gun shy after you got this Ryan Finley situation unfolding.
How great would it be if the Jets scored 51 next week and the Bears won the Super Bowl? We all three had to get
I'll never have
together.
It's like combined 100 years of life, no tattoos, and then all of a sudden tattooed like 3 tattoos in the span of 2 weeks. 80-1, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. I feel pretty confident about that. So you know what? Sure, I'll do it. But you got to do the Cardinals too, Breech.
I already have a Adam Gase bet going.
Well, you got 2 tattoos on the line now. You got to get Cliff Kingsbury with deal with it sunglasses. If the Cardinals, if the Cardinals win the Super Bowl.
Oh my goodness! All
right.
right, fine.
of
They're both
tattoo
80 to
bets.
1. They're both 80 to 1.
Oh, Debo's making fun of me in Slack. He's like, Brinson won't do it. 80 to 1 is not that crazy. Like, I don't know. It's like 4 games. Jaguars locked up the number 1 pick. I'll tell you what, if the Jaguars don't take Trevor Lawrence and he's in the draft, I'll get a tattoo for that too. We got this tattoo.
And I do love Debo dunking on you, as you just said, but you didn't say what he said. He said Wilson was willing to get a tattoo for something that was 7 to 1 odds, which was Bengals beating the Steelers. Brinson wasn't willing to do it for something that's 80 to 1, but he is doing it. We changed his mind. There we go.
We're all getting.
Well, Ryan volunteered that. You asked me.
By the way, Brinson, Breech, you texted us that you had some tattoo news. You might be getting a tattoo.
Well, now it's the Arizona Cardinals. It's off the hook. That's it. I'm on the hook with Arizona.
Wait, whoa. What do you mean?
Wilson brought the tattoo or the text that I sent Christmas night.
He was drunk. He sent a text about him getting a tattoo, and he's going to tell us on Sunday night.
I felt bad for Wilson, the fact that he had to get a tattoo, and I had a stipulation I was going to make where I would also get one, but now it's with the Cardinals. So that one's off the board. I never brought it up.
What was your tattoo?
It was going to be on Christmas night. If I would have said it, it was going to be. Because of the Bengals thing, it was going to be if the Steelers won the Super Bowl because they've been playing so badly, but now they beat the Colts. I don't have to worry about it.
He's scared. He's scared.
No, it's the Cardinals. It's the Cardinals. Brinson already talked to me in the Cardinals. I'm not taking on 2 teams. I already got the Cardinals.
What's the Cardinals tattoo?
If the Cardinals in the Super Bowl, I have to get a Cardinals tattoo.
I mean, the Steelers odds are slightly better than the Cardinals.
Hey, Brinson, you were in the bathroom when Brinson brought this up. I'm not going to.
You texted about this. Oh my God, he was like itching to get a Steelers tattoo.
Yeah, that would have been
a Big Ben.
Steelers aren't winning the Super Bowl either.
Well, they're not now. A Breech going to get a tattoo.
How about if the Steelers win the Super Bowl, Ryan can get out of his Ryan Finley tattoo?
Sure.
He needs to have it by the Super Bowl. Let's move on. The Jaguars have the first overall.
We're gonna have a separate tattoo podcast.
The Chiefs 17, Falcons 14. The Chiefs clinched the number 1 seed. The Falcons covered. This says +3, but they were actually like +10. The under 54 hit. I don't know why I said that. Sorry, Debo. The Falcons cover the +10. I wasn't thinking. The under 54 hit. Matt Ryan outperformed Patrick Mahomes statistically. Travis Kelce set the NFL single season record for most receiving yards by tight end, 1,146, eclipsing George Kittle's number from 2018. The Chiefs have won their last 7 games by a combined 27 points. So very quickly, I'll ask you this, Breech. How concerned are we about the Chiefs?
I mean, I'm definitely slightly concerned. You keep messing with fire, you're going to get burnt. And that's an NFL record that they've won. It's 7 straight games, right? By 6 points or less. Like, you keep doing that. This game, Younghoe Koo, who was the Pro Bowl kicker in the NFC.
He leads the NFL in points scored.
He has not missed a field goal between 30 and 39 yards all year, and he somehow hits the craziest hook I have ever seen in at least 5 years. This field goal looked like it was going right down the middle with 15 seconds left, and it hooked right, and it missed, and the Chiefs won. And those are the kind of wins they've had.
Before that, David Terrell, is that the rookie cornerback? I can't remember his first name.
AJ Terrell.
AJ Terrell, thank you. David Terrell's the wide receiver for the Bears.
Oh, dropped the interception.
Yeah.
Interception in his hand, came down with it. His elbow hit the turf.
And Raheem Morris with one of the worst challenges you'll ever see.
Well, he's seen some of the action today. He knows that what's his face, the head of officials, is off lollygagging around, not paying attention, maybe hoping against hope. So AJ Terrell's dropped interception. The game's over if he catches that. It was a terrible throw by Mahomes. Here's what I said earlier about the 7 games, 1 score wins by the Chiefs. So if you flip a coin, 50-50 chance you get it right. The Chiefs have effectively flipped this coin 7 times in a row, and they've laid on heads each time. They're going to end up getting tails at some point.
Yep.
It happens in January. They're going home. So, yeah, they're still the best team in the AFC, but they're not as good as they were a year ago. And to Breech's point, they are sort of, poking the bear, messing around with fire.
And the one thing I will add on to that is that, they're on track to finish 15-1. If they beat the Chargers, they're 15-1. Only 6 NFL teams in history have ever finished 15-1. The last 4
lost an AFC championship game.
Did not win the Super Bowl. Yes,
Yes,
Ryan's referring to the 2004 Steelers, There's also the 98 Vikings, didn't even make it to the Super Bowl. 2011 Packers, who went 15-1 the year after winning the Super Bowl, got upset in the playoffs, and then
They lost in the first round against the Giants.
And then
that was red face Coughlin game, right?
No, that was 2007. That
was the 2011 team that beat. That was your first Super Bowl when you were puking in Lucas Oil.
How dare you, sir? By the way,
they lost to the Giants. And then also the 2015 Panthers, obviously 15-1 and lost to the Broncos.
Passive aggressive Breech strikes again.
I know, disrespectful.
Well, Brinson knew. He's a Panthers fan, and Wilson's a Steelers fan. You guys knew those ones.
I don't know why you went in that chronological order. It threw me all kinds of off. The Chiefs, by the way, clinched the number 1 seed in the AFC, so they have home field advantage throughout. And wouldn't be surprised if they rested player with. I don't know. Do you rest players if you're the Chiefs in week 17 against the Chargers?
They had 10 points against the Falcons with 2 minutes to go and threw an interception. And after that dropped interception, the very next play was a touchdown pass to Demarcus Robinson, I think.
That's you win 7 straight games by like 6 points or fewer, and then you take 3 weeks off.
I would like to blow out someone.
I'm going to lose a lot of money betting against the Chiefs in the playoffs. That's my prediction.
Who do they play next week, Breech?
Chargers.
Oh, God. That'll be their blowout. And they'll get their hopes up against an Anthony Lynn team. Come on.
Or the most Chargers thing ever would be beat the Chiefs when it doesn't matter at all.
Lose draft picks, right? Yeah.
And the Chargers are trying to catch the Chiefs' record, apparently, because they've won 3 straight games, all by 3 points.
Speaking of draft picks that matter, the Houston Texans slid into the top 5 of the NFL draft with a loss to the Bengals. But, I'm checking my notes. Turns out that's not their pick. It's the Dolphins' pick. They're about to give away a top 5 draft pick if they lose again on Sunday. The Bengals obviously covered the set plus 7.5. The over 46 hit. That was a joke of a line. That game was always going over. Deshaun Watson went crazy. Brandon Allen had some big plays. Samaje Perine, the heart and soul of the Dolphins, 2 rushing touchdowns. And David Johnson had his best game as a Texan. So congratulations there. But you know what?
Quickly. Like Ryan Finley just won a huge game. Brandon Allen got the start. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, weird.
And he threw for 371 yards and 2 touchdowns. Let me say,
no. Stop. We're going to talk about JJ. We're going to play JJ Watt's sound. JJ Watt went off about teammates. I don't want to hear about Ryan Finley, Breech disrespecting Ryan Finley. And shut your mouth. Here is JJ Watt after the game with a pretty intense little comments.
If you can't come in and put work in the building, go out to the practice field and work hard, do your lifts and do what you're supposed to do, you should not be here. This is a job. We're getting paid a whole lot of money. There are a lot of people that watch us and invest their time and their money into buying our jerseys and buying a whole bunch of, and they care about it. They care every single week. We're in week 16 and we're 4-11. And there's fans that watch this game, that show up to the stadium, that put in time and energy and effort and care about this. So if you can't go out there and you can't work out, you can't show up on time, you can't practice, you can't want to go out there and win, you shouldn't be here. Because this is a privilege. It's the greatest job in the world. You get to go out and play a game. And if you can't care enough, even in week 17, even when you're trash, when you're 4-11, if you can't care enough to go out there and give everything you've got and try your hardest, that's bullshit.
That was actually the condensed version of the audio from JJ Watt. So suffice to say, JJ Watt pretty pissed off about the fact that he has teammates who are loafing and teammates who aren't trying hard. He continued on afterwards to say how bad he feels for the fans, to lament all of that. And, you know, I think he's probably, I'm sure there are multiple people he's directing that towards. I would also say that he's probably last year, like this could be his last couple of games in Houston. He's the greatest player in franchise history by a long shot.
You gave up 540 yards to the Bengals. Of course, you're going to lash your team out. This is like, the Bengals are not a very good team. I think we can all, sure, they upset the Steelers.
We can all agree. We will accept that and move on.
Okay, there you go. And so if you're JJ Watt, you rightfully call your team out because clearly half the guys on the defense have mailed it in. Let me tell you what the Bengals game plan was. Brandon Allen literally spent the whole first half throwing screens and little swing passes, and the Texans couldn't stop it. And last week they couldn't stop it either. They've had like these losses they've had have just been ugly. Like they lost to the Bears 36-7. They're being blown out of these games. JJ Watt's absolutely right that people are playing like they don't care. So good for him to call people out. And, you have to have a stature within your organization to be able to do that. A quarterback can do that. Guys like JJ Watt can do that. Not everyone on the team can make that statement. So it is interesting. I mean, what if everybody on the defense doesn't like JJ Watt and they're like, my God, we're just going to go quit on everyone next week?
I heard the audio without seeing the face, and I could have very easily been convinced that was Ron Rivera talking to Dwayne Haskins. I mean, that's who that should be targeted towards. I mean, look, JJ Watt's frustrated, and I sort of joked with you guys that that's him buying his ticket to Pittsburgh so he can play with his brothers next year, and he would be welcomed there with open arms, of course. But
what did you say about the audio originally?
I was like, it might be a little too much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then Breech and I pointed out that we've been having a conversation for 3 weeks now about sitting you down and giving you the same speech.
I know.
Tired of you mailing in this podcast.
I was waiting.
The people who pay good money for this podcast, Brian.
You don't even try anymore, Wilson.
They're fans. It's week 16. They're still downloading the show, and you're out there not trying. Try to give a crap, okay? It's our job. We're paid well for this.
Do you think part of
we're
that
paid semi well for this?
There you go. Do you think part of him is trying to ensure that he's not there next year because there's so much uncertainty, coaching, front office, GM, and he's like, you know what? Let me just tell the truth, but also get my way, grease the wheels on my way out of town.
I just think he knows he's not going to be there.
Okay, well, I mean,
and he's mad. Isn't his oh, look at his deal.
One more year in his deal. Yeah, look it up.
I think he's just making sure that they get rid of him in case the new coach or the new whatever is thinking, yeah, maybe we should keep JJ because we need a leader in here. He's like, no, I don't want any of that type of thing.
Well, I would suggest to him the easiest way to do that is to go to a strip club tonight and let people
yeah, and I don't think he has any dead cap. The last year of his deal is 2021, and I don't think he has a dead cap.
Yeah, that's right. He has no dead cap. They can cut him.
Trade him would be easy. Cut him would be easy. I mean, if you're the Texans, you have 0 draft picks. You definitely want to get compensation if you can.
So they'll cut him.
He's a $17.5 million cap hit. He's just getting no dead cap. He's just getting cut this offseason. It'll be we've released JJ Watt. We're going in a different direction. Of course.
Or that's where you send out the feelers to other teams. You have somebody report that JJ Watt's on the trade block. And if you're literally any team, you call up an offer of 3rd, 4th round pick. Like if the Texans get anything in return, they would take it.
Here's what you
planning to get rid of them.
You say, here's what you do. You say, hey, TJ, Derek, what's up? Oh, JJ wants to go to Pittsburgh. Done.
Yeah, nobody's trading for JJ Watt with a $17.5 million cap hit.
Right. That's a sort of a.
And when the cap's going down to 173 or whatever, it's not happening. He's getting cut. He has one more game in Houston, and they'll do the thing that they always do, and it sucks. JJ Watt's the greatest player in franchise history. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And
David Carr would like a word.
You're right. You're right. Derek Carr, the greatest player in Texans franchise history.
David Carr. So.
Here's your fun fact from this game, because it's a Bengals game. We're not going to talk about the Bengals, but I'm going to give you a fun fact. This was the Bengals put up 540 total yards. It was the most they've put up in a road game since 1990.
They did win a road game, so way to go, Breech on that. All right, please let's move on.
By the way, does Derrick Henry break the rushing? Does he break 2,000 yards next week?
How many does he need?
223 against the Texans.
No.
Oh, I think he does.
That would be
Chargers at Broncos, the only game of the slate. Devo slotted it in, or no, Bengals-Texans was slotted in. Chargers-Broncos also no playoff implications whatsoever. Chargers win 19-16. Chargers cover. The Justin Herbert broke the record for most passing touchdowns by a rookie in NFL history. Baker Mayfield had broken Peyton Manning's record 2 years ago. And this is sort of my point to Pete Prisco. It's like, 2 years ago, Baker Mayfield was like number 2 behind Patrick Mahomes and guys you might take to start a franchise. So maybe quit with your little, peacocking around. Justin Herbert's been awesome this year. A lot can happen to a young player, but man, what a run by Herbert. Big stretch here 3 weeks in a row where they won games. Anthony Lynn probably saved his job
because he let the Broncos come back in this game and almost win it.
They
I mean,
won.
the Broncos offense looks terrible. Drew Lock, I don't know. Jerry Jeudy had some drops. That's concerning.
And
Jerry Jeudy played better than he had in like 6 weeks.
The Chargers did almost absolutely Charger this game. They're winning 19-16 with like, let's see. There's like 20 seconds left. Drew Lock threw a pass like 35 yards downfield.
Oh my God. It popped up and
it
he
should have been
caught it.
intercepted and it popped up and the Broncos caught it and set him up at the 50-yard line. At that point, that's when Brinson, we were saying that why not send McManus out for a 67, 68-yard field goal to try and tie it. They did not. They went for a Hail Mary, and that one actually did get intercepted.
Do you know who intercepted it?
I do not remember.
Oh, yeah, Mike Williams.
Oh, yeah, Mike
Which
Williams.
is a smart move, which we were talking about in the Cardinals game.
And in the year before with like Rob Gronkowski.
Right.
Like just put big guys out there. They put Mike Williams out there. He intercepted. He was very happy about it. And the Chargers won. The Chargers have a brightish future. And I agree with you, Ryan. We don't know about Drew Lock in the slightest.
I think they could beat the Chiefs if the Chiefs are resting people. All of a sudden, you get to 7-9, and I think 7-9 absolutely saves Anthony Lynn's job.
Chiefs.
If the Chiefs rest everyone,
Winners, losers.
All right, start us off.
Go with the Jets. The Jets saved Adam Gase's job for 2 days. Jason Luckenford reported that if they had lost to the Browns, that there's a chance that Adam Gase gets his walking papers. And I think the other winner inside the winner is Sam Darnold. We talked a lot about Mitchell Trubisky sort of maybe worming his way back in Chicago. I think Sam Darnold's a better case. Now they don't have the first pick. The Jets don't, so they're out of Trevor Lawrence. So I'm going to go with the Jets, who have played some good football the last month of the season.
I am going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. 5 weeks ago, I was laughed off this podcast because I predicted that a 3-8 team that was in last place would win the division. I got mocked. Phone calls. My family got harassed. People said it wasn't possible. Brinson accused me of being a robot. That hurt, Brinson. But you know what? You know who's one win away from winning the division?
My robot insides.
You don't have feelings.
I have no emotion. It did not actually hurt. But the Cowboys are my winner because now going into week 17, after being 3-8, they are still alive and they have a very realistic shot at taking home the division title.
Andy Dalton, comeback player of the year. Mike McCarthy, coach of the year. My winner is we're really dipping into the bottom of the barrel here for the winners. I'm going to go lower than both of y'all, though. The Jaguars are the big winner. They don't even have to sweat tanking in week 17. They locked up Trevor Lawrence. I can't overstate this enough. The Jets rolled out one of the worst rosters we've ever seen in the history of professional football. They looked like they were going to cruise to 0-16. At one point, I think they were like 2-1 or maybe like plus 150 to lose all 16 games this season. They stumbled their way to 2 wins. The Jaguars lost in week one against the Colts and somehow still haven't managed to win again. And they are locked into Trevor Lawrence unless Trevor Lawrence bails and comes back to Clemson for another year or forces his way out into somewhere other than Jacksonville. They are holding some of the biggest chips we've seen in a long time. 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks. If Lawrence is there, one of the 4 best quarterbacking prospects that I've seen in my entire lifetime. It's Elway, Manning, Luck, Lawrence. And I would put Lawrence right behind Elway and Manning, who I don't really. Okay, Burrow is good. No, Burrow's around for 1 year. Trevor Lawrence is a slam dunk draft pick at number 1, and the Jaguars got him. That's why they were cheering against their own team when they scored a touchdown, or cheering for the Bears when they scored a touchdown on Sunday. And the Jaguars are huge winners for it.
Losers.
Yeah, let's go, Ryan.
Browns. They had one job. Yes, they didn't have any receivers. The Dolphins didn't have any receivers on Saturday night, and they won against a much better Raiders team. The Jets, as you pointed out, Brinson, are dog doo-doo. They're dog doo-doo on the bottom of your shoes when you're going to throw them out. And they found a way to win, which is why they're my winners. So, yeah, what do the Browns do from here? Can they beat the Steelers in week 17? I have no idea. They'll get their receivers back, but I don't know if Baker Mayfield is yet up to the task of winning big games. The Browns absolutely shot themselves in the foot. They had a chance to win the division, had the Steelers lost to the Colts, and now here they are with a chance to actually miss the playoffs altogether.
I am going to go. I don't want to put Brinson through the pain of choosing his own boy, Phillip Rivers. So I'm going to go with the Colts. Look, you're the Colts. All you had to do was not blow a 24-7 third quarter lead against a team that had not scored more than 20 points in 5 weeks. It should have been the easiest win of your life. Once you got to that point, it was not. You blew the lead. Your own coach admitted that he was a bad coach with bad play calling. That was a bad time to start having bad play calling. So Colts, everyone in that organization, you are my loser for week 16.
Thank you, Breech, for doing that. That was almost as respectful as Ryan picking two teams from the same game. One team which won, making them his winner, and one team which lost.
Literal winners and losers.
My loser, Dwayne Haskins.
Hey-o.
I mean, I can't think of a worse week than losing to the Seahawks in a game that you could have locked up the division with, playing like crap, looking like an awful quarterback, going to a stripper party with no mask on in the middle of a pandemic when you have a coach who threw you a bone and gave you another chance after burying you earlier in the season, and who battled cancer, endangering everyone else on your team, endangering your coach, endangering anyone you're friends with by going to a stripper party after you lost a football game in week 15. Then, because there are no other healthy quarterbacks, having to start week 16 against a terrible defense in the Carolina Panthers, paving the way. The Carolina Panthers were the most dominant fantasy defense in fantasy football this week. That's how bad you were. And in the middle of it, you got benched for Taylor Heineke, who didn't play last year. And to top it all off, things are so dire for Washington. You're probably going to have to start next week anyway after you skipped the media Zoom call and then made the excuse that you couldn't use your Bluetooth in the car. Do you realize what this makes you look like, Dwayne Haskins? I don't think you do. It's infuriating. That's it. That's the show.